Welcome to episode number 2, season number 4. We're happy to be back in the kitchen again tonight, or this evening. So last week we did a shrimp and crab casserole, turned out really good, and may just throw together a simple street taco kindly to showcase the homemade tortillas that we got into. This week we thought we would focus upon just some good old street tacos. So they're super easy to do, and it's not your ground beef or diced up chicken tacos. This is semi-authentic to what you'd find if you went to a street vendor in Mexico. And I want to show you guys that you can go to your local Kroger's, Walmart, and get the ingredients to make some really kicked up, awesome street tacos. So that's where we're at today. We're actually going to make some carne asada tacos, and we used a flank steak, and we'll get in that in a minute. But there are a few things you can prep either the night before or a few hours before, and that's what we're going to get into right now. If you can look, it'll be coming to a boil here in a minute. But we got a cup and a half of white vinegar. I preferred to use apple cider or red wine vinegar, but I just had white tonight. You can use any of the three. You can even use rice wine vinegar if you want to. About a quarter cup of sugar and about a tablespoon of salt. And what we'll actually do, let that get heated. You don't have to let it come to a boil, but let it get real good, hot and heated. And while that's doing that, we want to prep our red onion. So I've already skinned it and took skin off of it. We've already pre-washed our vegetables. If you look, we got some great produce today. Some radishes, avocado, limes. Tomatoes actually come from the new Moorhead place, the greenhouse down there, so that's great. You can get those at Kroger. Some garlic. Already pre-made some corn tortillas, street tacos, and you see the difference in size of those compared to what you'd see in a fajita or something. This is the actual size of a street taco. And the correct Mexican cheese that crumbles. So that's just some of the things we'll get into a little bit later. Onion cut back and forth, or front, back, everything's cut off of it, already peeled. You want to cut your onion as thin as possible. It takes a really good sharp knife. And the reason you want to do it, because this is a quick pickle. The thinner the onion is, the better it works on the taco, and the better it'll be, the quicker it'll pickle. These pickled onions, you can even actually can them and use them year-round, but it's best to do it the night before. So we're going to cut these up super thin. After we get this done, we're actually going to make some, since we already got our tacos made, or tortillas, and we did that on last week's show, so you all know how we do tortillas. We're going to actually make a thing called a gordita, and we'll show you how to make it in a minute. Same process, just a couple extra steps to it. Like I said, try to keep it as thin as possible. And our mixture's heating up quite well. The red wine vinegar actually makes it just look more reddish when they come out. A little sweeter taste too. So that's why I prefer, that. As they said in old time, when we used to set tobacco all the time field, when you get to the end of something, getting down to the short rows, that's where we're at with onions. So we're going to quit there. We're going to save this in case we want it later, the other half. It usually calls most pickled, and go online, about all the pickled onion recipes is the same. They might vary a little bit, sweetener, this and that, but any of them's great. Crumble them up a little bit like that. Not crumble, but separate them is what I meant to say. So they pickle. You don't want to leave them in big pieces. Stuff your jar full. And that's getting about where we want it at. So by the time we get our onions in there, we'll be ready to pour that mixture in here. And these will condense down a bunch. I know it looks like the jar's really full, but it will. They'll when that heat and that vinegar hits them, they'll condense way down. Also, I do a lot of my seasons and stuff, homemade and sauces. But if you're always intimidated or don't want to take the extra time by the extra seasonings to marinate the steak or to make the sauces, there's some very, very good store-bought sauces that's on the shelf for street tacos. Street tacos are kind of a hit right now, so all these companies are starting to make all the sauces that you used to have make homemade. So, I mean, if you don't want to go through all that to make homemade, just go and get you one of the good ones off the shelf. Do it if you're more ambitious and you want to do everything homemade, tortillas and all, do it, but you don't have to enjoy a meal like this. We're about where I want to be at. I'm going to grab one of my little whisks right here, or little spatulas, and give this a quick little stir to incorporate a little bit more of the sugar. You can see a little steam starting to come out of it. You don't want it real hot because you want to watch your jar. If your jar is cold and your substance you're putting in it hot, sometimes it can crack your jar and break on you. Even same concept with canning. When you can stuff at home, most of the time you want heated jars before you heat the jars up and get them tempered a little bit to the water before you pour it in it. How many of y'all have had jars to break canning? I do 2 or 3 years. So, you can use a funnel if you want to. I'll probably make a mess, but so you just want to pour it in there. I always make a little extra because I'm going to make sure I have enough to cover them. So I got a little bit extra, which is not no big deal. It's just good and warm. Use just a mason jar. And get it good and shuck up, and that'll help mix it up and throw this. I'm actually going to throw mine in the freezer for a little bit because we're filming this evening. That way it gets chilled quicker. But don't do that. You know, it's best to do it the night before and just put it in the refrigerator and you're good to go. So we got the pickled onions prepped. When we come back here in a second, we're actually going to go ahead and prep our gorditas because we've got our tortillas made, and get the meat and put it on. Now the good part. So what y'all see is a flank steak that's vacuum sealed. You might say, why is it vacuum sealed? Okay, here's my deal with street tacos. If you went to the street of Mexico, they didn't have fillets, ribeyes, and all the good cuts. Most of it was like normal people, I would say IU, that's worked in the fields, tobacco, or probably not in that extent. A lot of them worked very hard in their lives. So unfortunately, they didn't have always the best cut of meat, so they get the flank steak, skirt steak, brisket, whatever, to make tacos out of. If you go to Mexico, I mean, they're made out of beef tongue, etc. You name it, make it. So I want to showcase that. I want to do the real deal. I like to use skirt steak. It's a little harder to find, so I did get a flank steak 2 days ago. A day and a half ago, 2 days. I opened it, and I'm going to reach right back here and get a seasoning. Like I told y'all before, if you don't want to make a seasoning, you can get a homemade one. I highly recommend this carne asada season from Lawry's. Same one that makes seasoning salt. And it is basically exact same thing if you just mix it yourself. It's just already pre-mixed. I mean, other than adding a little flavor here and there, or a touch to your own, and you can still do it to this, there's nothing wrong with getting a good seasoning to use. And another good thing you can do this, you can take a beef roast, like a chuck or something that string apart real good, put it in a crock pot with the same marinate, a little bit of water, put on in the morning when you get home. You have an awesome, I mean, you take it out and make either burritos, tacos, fajita, I mean, you can make whatever you want with it. So I got this double bag, and the reason why I like to vacuum seal it because it kind of like sucks the juices in a little more into the meat. Let them juices pour right out. Preferably, I would grill this, hands down. Wood charcoal, high heat, hot, grill it. Both sides till it got done. We don't always have that option to do that. So I want to try to take what cilantro that I had in there off. I want to leave all the oranges and citrus. That's part of carne asada is, you know, you do have some citrus. I actually use blood orange, regular orange, cilantro, garlic, and stuff like that on it. So that's enough of that. You don't have to pick them all out, but I'm going to and pour the juice right there. Dump the rest of it. So when you get a flank steak, sometimes it's in a real small roll, like rolled up. And then when you get it out, it's obviously in a bigger piece. And I'll show y'all how to cut that in a little bit after we get it done. I'm going to leave some of these on there and just let it be cooking. We're going to have broil in the oven, and it'll smell really good too. Put a little water in the pan, keep everything from sticking. Actually, let's just take them off for a minute because I want the meat to get a little bit brown while it's cooking. Let your meat come up to room temperature, whether you're grilling or putting in the oven. We're going to broil this. I don't cook my steak super done even for tacos because I hate the done steak. Ask your guests, get the majority of what everyone likes, and, you know, make everybody happy. But most time it's me and my kids and wife. We always eat our steak on the medium to medium rare side. But these won't be that. We'll cook it a little more. But just whatever suits your fancy. So let's put this in the oven under broil and let it be cooking. And we're going to come back and do all the toppings. So nothing's better on street tacos, just simple, fresh produce. Whether it's tomatoes, diced up thin radishes, avocado, jalapenos. We'll do a little Mexican slaw. And just keep it simple. You're already going to have hot steak on it, so just keep it simple. That's how you do down there, or how they do. So we're going to chop up, actually just slice up a jalapeno pepper. Of course, if you don't want it real hot, everyone knows the rule of thumb to just get rid of seeds like that. Just cut them out. If you want it hotter, and leave them in, bring the seeds in. But just scrape them out. So you can either do it with a knife or take a spoon. They make a tool to do it with too, like a little paper scraper type thing. So I like leaving them more whole. Slice them a little thin so you don't get a big chunk of paper. You just get a thin slice of it if you want. And I put all my vegetables on one tray, or all my toppings except the slaw, because it's going to be a little bit, you know, just a little bit different, but not much. We're going to leave one of these jalapenos, put some in the slaw. We'll go ahead and prep it. So here's our fresh jalapeno. And I try to put them on just where people go through and pick off what they want. It's a party type thing when you do street tacos. We'll actually start with our tortillas right there. We want a little bit for our slaw, so we'll do the same thing on it. Just slice them up thin, and we'll just put a little bit in it. Watch your fingers when you get close to the end. This knife's extremely sharp. It don't take a second to cut you. Just chop them up. Keep running it back and forth on it until you get it to where you want it. People don't want it hot. Don't put nothing in it at all. It don't have to have the jalapeno in it. Period. I just like a little heat with it. So we're actually going to use this bowl right here for our slaw. Let's go ahead and get our cabbage ready. This has already been pre-washed. It's not going to be a thick slaw. Take some outer leaves off of it. Don't need a whole lot. Fry it later with some onions and bacon. Make a heck of a meal. I like to make it to where it'll fit on your taco decent. So I want to slice it super thin too, because you don't want a big chunk of cabbage when you eat it. You just want like a real thin layer. Just scramble a little bit, spread a little bit of it on top thinly, and I'll show you in a minute what I'm talking about. And a little bit of this goes a super long ways. So if you got big chunks like that, either cut it up finer or throw it out, whatever. Like it goes extremely a long ways. That's actually enough. Put that in there, because you'll just be putting just a little bit on top. So we're going to add just a little bit of our onion we had. And I'm slicing it paper thin. I mean, as thin as I can slice it. And just a little bit, that's plenty. Because remember, we also got pickled onions. So just do another little rough chop like that. So what y'all see here is a little bit of our chipotle pepper. This comes pre-canned in a can or jar. You can get it at any, most local grocery stores have it. Just put a little bit of that in it. Not much at all. I'll show you what else you can do with this in a little bit. Now this is a crema, sour cream Mexican style. It ain't hardly as thick as sour cream you get in the thing. If you want to, you need to shake it up really good. I mean, this is a simple, very simple slaw. I'm actually going to just get my vinegar out here and my salt while we're working on this. You don't need to add no pepper to it at all. So just add a very little bit of this in there. That's probably enough. We'll check it here in a minute. If it's a little dry, we'll add a little more. No big deal. You want this a little drier than normal. Cap full of vinegar. Don't take much. Okay. And just a little bit of salt. It'll help break it down a little bit. That's plenty. Okay. Let me set that there out of the way. Slide my knife over. And you just want to incorporate this together. You want it dry. Like I said, you don't want a real wet slaw at all. And of course, like I said, every one of these recipes will be right on the website. So go on MTV, click on the TV part, go down, and after the show, once it airs, you'll be able to find the recipe shortly after that. I mean, that's it. It's that simple. I mean, it's just, and you can add whatever you want to that. I mean, if you want to add something different, feel free to do it. Make it your own. So we got our coleslaw done. Well, actually, we'll just put a little pile of that right there. You can leave it in the bowl if you wanted to, or do it just like that. We'll set these to the side, take this, and we'll step over here a minute and put our bowl up. We're going to check the steak real quick, flip it, and come back and finish up our meal. Next, just a little diced up tomato. I mean, these ingredients are the same as you would have used in, I just cut the core out of it like that. Just same as you would have used in any regular tacos at home on the rest of it. Just, I mean, a little bit of tomato. And you don't need a lot of toppings because you got so many toppings. So there ain't no use like to waste a lot of, because you're only going to put a few touches of tomato on it, a little bit of green onion, whatever, to get it how you want it. And as you notice, I don't have no lettuce because I use slaw. If you want lettuce, cut you up some lettuce. That's just an option. When I do slaw, I don't do lettuce. That's just my preference. So we have our tomatoes cut up. Use your knife. Put them right there by your slaw. Slide it down. If you got people that absolutely don't like their food touching, put it in bowls. No big deal. To me, I just don't like doing dishes. So I use this rag to wipe my blade off with. Our new island here is awesome, by the way. I like radishes on mine. We did pre-wash these. I just want to leave the stem on because it looks good. Radishes go a long ways too, because you just put a little bit on there for crunch. So one radish should probably almost do you. So you want to do it super, super thin also. Everything you put on these, you want it thin because you don't want a big bite of radish or a big bite of you want to taste all the flavors. So we'll just let's do one like this. Keep it thin. Because you'll probably only put like 2 or 3 slivers of radish on it. So, it'll go really long ways. You can mix your colors up some if you want to, so it looks pretty when you present it. And you can always buy those little cheap party tongs like that, little ones, have them sitting out. Something different. Okay, let's do some lime. Let's just do some wedges like that in case someone wants some wedges on that. Put them right there in the middle. I needed to, I got some other stuff too. We'll do it in a little bit. So there's all your limes. Avocado. That is not hardly firm. I like getting one that's somewhat firm. Here's how I do my avocado. I first go like this. I break it. That's got a different kind of seed, so it's not going to cooperate like I want it to. And then I pop the seed out. Most of the time you can take your knife if it's a rounded seed and just hit in it, circle it. And I think I've showed it on here before. So this sharp knife, you got to watch that part of it. I score the inside of it like that, the thickness that I want it to be on a taco. So take your time, don't cut through and cut your finger. Please don't. So that's why I'm taking my time, because obviously I don't want to cut my finger either. And if the avocado's right, it don't always work. Most of the time it does. So I'll go like that too. And it don't take a second to do an avocado. When I'm making guacamole, you can make guac with this too. And actually, a lot of times when we make street tacos, we'll make a corn salsa, avocado, and then open up a jar of homemade salsa that we make during the summertime and kind of eat it beforehand on it. So, yeah. This one's hardly not, I mean, it's ripe enough, but it wouldn't hurt for another day or two on it. If you're going to do them the same day of, get you a really soft avocado. So, yeah. I know I'm probably scaring some of y'all out there by cutting this, but let me step over here and get a spoon. So I got 2 different size spoons. Depending on the size of avocado, all you gotta do is go inside the husk, hull, whatever you want to call it, and just scoop it all out. That's how I do my avocados. And you can put a slice or 2 of that on there with it, whenever you get ready. So it scoops out nice and easy like that. That's plenty of avocado. Like I said, you'll just be putting a slice, sliver or 2 on it. Take one of your lemon, or limes, I'm sorry. I don't know why I keep calling them lemons. Just squirt over it, and that helps keep it from, the acid in it helps keep it from turning brown. So that's if you didn't know that, that's a good tip, because it'll turn brown quick. Last thing I like to put on it is a few green onions. We don't need them all. Well, I know, onions. I like onions. If you don't, you might have someone there that don't want pickled onions, don't like pickled stuff. So give them some green onions on the side. So they have a choice. And I like using all parts of it. So I'm going to put this right here by our lime. Sometimes you don't cut through the green thing, you have to go back and do that. Like I said, I mean, once you get the steak marinated on the grill or oven like we're doing there, you're basically done. You're just getting your vegetables ready. Now, the cheese is authentic Mexican, like a crumbled cheese. It's for tacos. I just break it like that in sections. You can crumble it where people can get a hold of it like that. And you just crumble that instead of like your regular, what people use is Kobe cheese or, cheddar cheese, whatever. So, anyhow, that's enough of that for now. We can always add more to it as people runs out. We're going to slide this back, and oh, there goes the fork. Get it later. What I like to do with these street tacos, this is a tougher cut. I mean, it just is. It's a flank steak. So, of course, you don't want to slice it this way because it'll be tough. It'll be stringy with the meat. And it's to the doneness I like myself. So I want to slice it this way. I like to taste it. It's actually very flavorful. You can taste all the citrus and marinade. Perfect carne asada. And it's actually very tender. But I'll still, and how a lot of these flank steaks are cut, the ends might be more medium done, medium well. The center more medium rare, so you can separate it out to how people might want it. Nonetheless, I could cut it all up. Actually, stack it baby on top of each other and just cut it. And then I'll go back and even chop it up a little more, because you don't want, just big old chunks of that. So we want to chop all this up in pieces. And the reason why you just don't want a big old long piece of steak hanging out of a little tiny taco. And if we was just making regular tortillas, we'd leave them just like that and let them. So I chop it up pretty fine most of the time. And that's how they do. There goes our tongs too. I'm on the roll. So we'll finish cutting it up. And if you don't think you can eat all this one night, you can either refreeze that, put it to the side, serve it tomorrow, get you some chorizo and eggs, make you some steak and eggs next morning. I'll put it right back on this platter. Might lose my knife too. Everything is going that way for some reason. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and slice it up. And it's actually, if you cut it the right way, let me show you a difference. So right here, we can pull it completely apart. We could shred that with our fingers if we wanted to. If we cut it this way, you can't see how much harder it is to pull apart. I mean, I'm having to give it some effort. So that's why I cut it this way, with the grain. You don't want to cut it with the grain, any meat, because that makes it tougher. So you want to cut across the grain, and that breaks it down to where the fibers of the meat is. Yeah, we got some good pile taco meat. When we come back, we're going to plate up. The moment we've all been waiting for. So we got our street taco tortillas, corn. We got our carne asada. I diced it up, and it's got, you can just taste all the citrus notes. It's so good. So I got my little cheap cardboard street taco trays like you would have used out at a food vendor. You used to use them on a food truck. So hold your tortilla, heat these. You can, I mean, either way. I usually heat them, get them a little warm. Now these, you can eat several of these because you don't put a whole lot on each of them. So put your little slaw on it. This is how I like mine anyways. A little bit of radish on it. I need to get the pickled onions out in a minute, so we'll do that. Just a touch of tomato. And we'll get my pickled onions out. And these are messy. They're going to fall. They're going to come out. So we do have our pickled onions. They may, and these are just, the pickled onions are just awesome. So put you a little bit of cheese on them. And of course, use little tongs. I just don't have none out right now, but you can use little tongs and get all that out. Go in there and get you a little bit of pickled onion, or a lot of pickled onion. Depends on what you like. Okay, now when I was telling you about sauces, you could either buy store-bought ones, which I was wanting to show y'all. This is a street taco sauce. Go to Kroger's, get it off the shelf, use it, or you can make you some homemade sauces. There's several different ones. Put a little bit of that on there, a few drops, and here's your street carne asada taco. So I hope y'all can see it and enjoy. Didn't want to talk with a mouthful, but they're awesome. So, thanks for tuning in. When this airs in a few weeks, go to MTV, your local station, to advertise. We're going to do a little marathon. This will be the second episode after marathon, so it'll be a couple days after. Remember, go online to MTTV, click on Kitchen, where all the recipes and all the shows is. Eventually, some of them gets uploaded to YouTube, so you can watch them there also. Enjoy. We thank you for another trip back to Mexico in the streets. kindly, if you want to look at it that way, what street tacos look like and how easy they are to make, and you get all your ingredients at your local grocery store. Kroger's, Walmart has all this to give. So go out and enjoy. You can do it with chicken, steak, whatever. Till the next episode from Field to Plate, we thank you for tuning in with us, and we look forward to episode number 3.